Today we're going to be making these little anatomical hearts with googly eyes. There are a few supplies that we will need for these guys. We'll need about 12 yards of red, 6 yards of blue. We'll need a 5mm hook, H hook, and a 3mm hook, a D hook, some scissors, a tapestry needle, a little bit of polyfill or fluff stuffing, and some googly eyes. There are lots of different types of googly eyes, various sizes that you can use for this heart. You'll also need a glue gun or some other type of adhesive to put your googly eyes onto your heart. We're going to be starting with the body of the heart. So we're going to start out with a magic ring. And inside our magic ring for our row 1, we're going to do 4 single crochets. And we will be working continuous rounds, no joining. And our second round is going to be a single crochet, followed by an increase, a single crochet, and an increase for a total of 6 single crochets for round 2. A stitch marker can be helpful if you need help tracking your rounds for where they start. For our round 3, we're going to do the same thing where we do a single crochet and then an increase, and we're going to do that 3 times. And this will give us 9 single crochets for our round 3. Round 4, we're going to single crochet around. This will give us 9 single crochets for our round 4. Round 5, we're going to single crochet 2 and then do our increase. And we're going to do this 3 times. We will have 12 single crochets for round 5. Round 6, we're going to do a single crochet, and then we're going to do 3 linked double crochets. So instead of wrapping around to go into the next stitch, we're going to pull a loop through the sidebar of our previous stitch for our linked double crochet through the sidebar, and that creates our link, and then finish out like you would a normal double crochet. Then we're going to do 3 single crochets and then another 3 linked double crochets. And then we're going to do 2 more single crochets, which will bring us back to our start. For round 6, we have a total of 12 stitches. For our round 7, we're going to single crochet, do a linked double crochet, and then we're going to do an increase linked double crochet in that next stitch, and then another linked double crochet. And because we still want to have 12 stitches around, we're going to do a decrease single crochet, so single crochet 2 together. Then we're going to do that whole sequence over again with a single crochet, linked double crochet, an increase linked double crochet, and then another double crochet, and then a single crochet 2 together for our 12 stitches for round 7. Round 8, we're going to single crochet 2 together all the way around for a total of 6 single crochets. And this gives us the base of our heart, or the body of our heart. And before we move on to the aorta, we're gonna put some fluff into the body. To start the aorta for our round 9, we're going to single crochet, decrease, single crochet, and a decrease. And this will give us 4 single crochets for round 9. For rounds 10 through 32, we're just going to single crochet around. You can add or subtract a few rows depending on how long you want your aorta to be. When we get to the last round of the aorta, we're going to single crochet 2 together twice, and then we're going to cut, leaving a long tail. So we'll cut and tie this off, and then we'll take our tapestry needle and we're going to weave on the inside of the aorta about halfway down to a point that you want to tag on to the back side of the heart. So we're going to curve over, leaving the aortic arch for our heart. Tie our aorta onto the back of our heart. And then we will weave in our end. Next, we're going to be working on the arteries, the brachiocephalic, left common carotid, and the left subclavian. So about 3 rounds up, which would be round 11, we're going to slip stitch through, and we're going to single crochet, and then in that same stitch on the other bar, we're going to do a half double crochet and chain 1 and turn, and half double crochet in each of the previous row stitches. And then to create our cylinder for our arteries, we're going to go back to that first half double crochet and go through the sidebar, and we're just going to slip stitch, and then the first half double crochet of our row 2, we're going to go through and we're going to slip stitch, and then we will cut and tie off, and then we will weave in our ends. For our next artery, we're going to do the same thing, 2 rows up, and then in the same thing, 2 rows up. So we take our slip knot and we slip stitch into 1 bar and single crochet, and then a half double crochet around the same single crochet of that round, chain 1, turn, half double crochet, half double crochet, and then we're going to slip stitch into that opposite corner. So that first half double crochet that we made of that round, and then again. And that gives us our main arteries that run along our aortic arch. To make our Vena Cava, we're going to switch to our blue yarn, which is our unoxygenated blood that flows through it. So to start, we're going to do a foundation row, a single crochet foundation row. So we're going to chain 2 through the back bump of that first chain, so the second one from the hook. We're going to pull a loop through, chain 1, and then we're going to pull a loop through the last 2 loops on the hook, which creates our single crochet. And like working through the back bumps only, we're going to leave the 2 front loops on one side and then that back bump on the other side of the hook. Gonna pull a loop through, chain 1, and then pull through the other 2 to create our single crochet. And we're going to do this 4 times for our foundation row of 4. If you didn't want to do the foundation row, you can also chain 5, work in the second chain from the hook, and single crochet across. Now that we have our row 1, we're going to turn it into rounds. For round 2 through 11, we're going to single crochet for a round. And same as the aorta, if you want your Vena Cava to be a little bit longer, you can add a couple more rounds. And if you want it to be shorter, you can take a couple rounds off. And if you need help keeping track of where your rounds stop and start, you can use a stitch marker. I find when I have less than 10 stitches around, the stitch marker seems to get in the way more than it helps to track which round I am on. As we come to the last few stitches of our Vena Cava, we're going to do 1 slip stitch to end, and then we're going to leave a long tail for sewing onto our heart. And same as we did with our aorta, we're going to use our tapestry needle, and we're going to weave partway down our vessel. And we're going to sew onto the left side of our aorta. If we're looking at the back, then it would be on the right side of it. And we're just going to sew it onto our heart. And then we will cut and tie and weave in all our ends. Next, we're going to work on the pulmonary arteries. And to do this, we're first going to start out with our foundation row of 4 single crochets. So we're going to do this just like we did our last foundation row. And again, if you did not want to do a foundation row, you can simply chain and single crochet 4. After we finish our foundation row, we're going to turn it into rounds again, and we're gonna single crochet 4 around for rounds 2 through 4. For round 5, we're gonna single crochet 3, and in our 4th single crochet of the last round, we're gonna do an increase. So we have 5 single crochets for round 5. For round 6, we're going to be splitting into 2 rows, 2 separate rounds, by chaining 1, and in the center of those, we're going to slip stitch through. We're going to chain 1. And we're going to be working in one sidebar of the single crochet, so closest to which side you want to work on. And we're going to single crochet around for 3 single crochets. And then staying in that first single crochet that we made to split into our 2 branches, we're going to again single crochet around for 3 for rows 7, 8, and 9. And we finish the last stitch of round 9. We'll slip stitch and then tie off. And we're going to weave in the end on this side. And then we're going to make the second branch, stitch into that chain that we made in our first round 6, and we'll single crochet. And working back into our round 5, we'll single crochet into the 2 stitches on the other side. And then we'll single crochet our round 7B into the 3 that we just made. And we'll do the same number of rounds, so 8 and 9 for our rounds. And when we get to the end of our round 9B, we will slip stitch, and we're going to cut and tie off there. I'm going to take my tapestry needle, and because I didn't leave a long tail to start with, I'm just going to weave this tail back down to the base of my pulmonary arteries. Going to weave in my end here, and we're going to sew our pulmonary arteries onto the front next to our aorta. When we're done sewing on the aorta, we're going to cut and tie off, weave in all our ends. And you'll take the branches of the pulmonary artery, and that Y is going to go underneath the aortic arch. And then we have our anatomical heart. For the final step of our heart, we're going to pick out a set of googly eyes. And we'll take our hot glue gun, and we will glue on our eyes. Then we have our little anatomical heart.